Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Q&A session for our upcoming course, Sacred Tools for Modern Masters, the 5-week journey to clear out energy blocks and transform your personal energy field using the Vedic Sutras. My name is Nadira Ade, and it's my pleasure to be hosting this hour-long Q&A call for the Shift Network, where we will explore the teachings of Deborah King and address questions about her upcoming 5-week course, Sacred Tools for Modern Masters, which begins next Tuesday, June 11th. Later, I will explain how you can participate in this course, even if you can't attend the live sessions. But first, let me take a moment to introduce our guest. Deborah King is an educator, attorney, leading authority on energy medicine, and New York Times bestselling author. Through her media appearances, workshops, and books, she has shown many how to heal physically, emotionally, and spiritually. As a writer, Deborah weaves together a willingness to explore the unknown with clear tips and ideas any reader can use and understand. An inspirational speaker and teacher with a lively following on Facebook, Deborah is featured regularly in broadcast, online, and print media. In just a few moments, we're going to open up for questions, but first, I just want to welcome Deborah, who is going to begin our call by leading us in an opening exercise. Deborah, welcome to the call. I'm not hearing you. Hold on just one moment. We're having just a moment of technical adjustment.
Well, it's adjusted.
There you are. Welcome.
Yeah, love being on, and am anxious to talk about sutras today because I'll be teaching them just next week. And sort of as a lead-in to that, I wanted to talk today about something pretty special. I wanted to talk about ascended masters for a few minutes. And so, you have to ask yourself, who are they and what are they and how could they help me, with my problems in my life. And, anytime you're trying to make a big shift in your life, and you might very well be doing that, and how timely, right? No pun intended. Here we are on the Shift Network. So, we need help. We need help when we're trying to make a big shift. We can't really do it all by ourselves. It takes a village, right? And so whether you're transitioning from relationship to being single, or the other way around, or maybe you're becoming a parent, or you are becoming an empty nester, or maybe you're job hunting again, all big lifestyle changes, right? Maybe you're dealing with a difficult diagnosis. You got some, health scare that's got you pretty anxious. This is a time where you might be looking for outside help. Or maybe you're in a good state right now in one of those little spaces we get where nothing's really troubling you. And here's a chance for you just to ramp up your consciousness so that you can help others. So when you're ready for a shift like that, one of the places that you can turn for advice, for reassurance, and for guidance on the path is to the Ascended Masters. Not Ghostbusters, okay, the Ascended Masters. And who are they? Well, Ascended Masters were people that had lives just like you and me. Sometimes they've had a few of them, quite a few perhaps, lived and died a bunch of times. And in the process, they got a handle on themselves, their issues, and their karma that they carried along from before. And each time they initiate, which means step up to a higher vibration, which is what you're doing, or you wouldn't be here today listening to this. Every time you prepare yourself for that next step up, and then at some point in this lifetime, you actually make that step, you're getting closer and closer to being an Ascended Master yourself, okay? So an Ascended Master is somebody who's made it to the 7th initiation. And that's actually may not sound high, but it is very high. And once you take that special initiation, you can ascend on your own at will. You can think of a few masters, right, who've done that you've read about. Just decide to depart, leave their body, and then they're given an option because they have the Ascended Master title. They're given the option of sticking around here energetically to help us out on this plane, to help us in any way they can. So since an Ascended Master had a physical body, they understand and have tremendous compassion for us that have physical bodies. They really get it. They've been there. And they understand what keeps us stuck. They understand what will help make us free. And because they have this deep, deep, deep understanding, they feel compelled to keep returning and helping us and guiding us through our initiations and guiding us to higher levels of existence. So I'd like to take a minute and introduce you to a few Ascended Masters. You might want to close your eyes. You don't have to. You don't want to if you're driving, of course, or walking. But if you're just hanging out, feel free to close your eyes and kind of kick back and feel inside yourself if one of these names or descriptions of an Ascended Master kind of resonates with you. So I'll start with Saint Germain. He's one of the most popular to talk about, right? He's one of my personal faves. He lived in France, probably in the late 17th, early 18th century. He was a count. So when they depict him, he's always depicted in royal garb and from that era, from the 1800s. And he's the founder of the Rosicrucian order, which I imagine you've heard of, an old, ancient, kind of a little known order or sect of spiritual people. Now, as an Ascended Master, over on the other side, on a different plane, he's the one who's most responsible for our culture. Isn't that interesting? For our current culture, yeah. And he's the one who's most responsible for ushering us into this new age, this age of Aquarius that we're still being ushered into, stepping into. So if you're one of the many, and I bet you are, and that's why you're here today, you feel called to help others in some way and help raise the consciousness of our planet, which seems low at the moment. Saint Germain's a great one to call on. Honestly, he can really help us out in that regard. Now, the next one I would mention would be Sanat Kumara. He's head of the Brotherhood, and that's a group I belong to. Kind of hard to define, but that's when you first start to ascend. That's the first group you sort of become a member of. He's the one that manages the spiritual hierarchy here on Earth. I suspect he's the one who lets you in. That's kind of my hunch. And so he's a great one to call on if you're trying to ramp yourself up. Now, still on the topic of spirituality, but actually an Ascended Master who can manage any topic would be Sananda, or the man that we call the Master Jesus. Great Ascended Master, right? Probably the greatest that the Earth has known to date. He had the most abilities, most powers, most bandwidth of anyone who's lived here that we know of thus far. That's why we still talk about him, right? And of course, his forte is unconditional love and forgiveness. I mean, he's just sterling in that regard. So if you need self-forgiveness, which most of us do, or you just need help loving yourself or loving others, he's the energy, he's the Ascended Master to turn to. And then a similar energy that I see any number of times, sometimes I see her as Mother Mary, and maybe you see her that way, or maybe you see her more like Isis or Mary Magdalene, all the same Ascended Master kind of energy that had different lifetimes, possibly all the same person, of course. And, what their forte is compassion. So feel into that. That's the compassion for the sick, the lonely, the troubled, those in prison. I mean, we've got to have compassion for all these people in the most desperate cases. These divine feminine Ascended Masters have great power there. And along the same lines as Kuan Yin, the Buddhist goddess. Same vibration, by the way, that divine feminine ascended master vibration. Another master of unconditional love and a great help. Kuan Yin is really good, by the way, if you have emotional issues. Now, sometimes people will call on Serapis Bey. He was an Egyptian. He's an ascended master who came from the Egyptian tradition. And he's really good with personal growth. Maybe you're looking for a better job or better relationship. You might turn there. Back to Isis for just a minute. She's the one you would turn to for feminine strength and power. She's really superb in that neck of the woods. Now, maybe you're in an artistic field and you feel stuck. Maybe you've got writer's block or painter's block or musician's block or just, general block when it comes to your creativity, to your cooking or your gardening or your sewing or whatever it might be. Maybe you don't have the motivation anymore. Call on Paul the Venetian. So he was an Italian in the Renaissance and a real advocate of creativity. And he's really excellent with all of that. And then, there's Lord Maitreya, who's we call the Buddha, another real powerful ascended master. And he oversees the whole evolution of mankind. So for those of you who feel so inclined, the Buddha, you might like keep a statue out your front door or something and touch its head every day when you go by. And then that way link yourself to his energy. Great for initiatory help. How about Lao Tzu, the father of Taoism, master of wisdom, another ascended master? I mean, there's just quite a few of them. There's Master Hilarion, a healer from the 4th century that I turn to for guidance on healing. And then there's Lady Master Nada. She's the last one I'll mention. She's from Atlantis, from the time period that we all were on Atlantis. And she's big helping women defend women, as well as teaching a path of service. So I don't want to overwhelm you with too many. That's just a few of the ascended masters. Choose a couple to relate to. Choose one that I mentioned right now. Just pick any one of the ones I mentioned. And just send your intention out, your energy, to connect with that ascended master. Beautiful. So you're just using your intentionality. You just forged a really great connection. And you may find that tonight that master appears to you in your dreams, or maybe the feeling of them might pop up for you, when you're meditating or walking. You don't have to see, you just feel. Feeling is very, very valid. And you'll know when an ascended master is connected to you because you will feel safer, you will feel more secure, and you will feel more at peace. All right, great. I just want you to be able to, trust those feelings. I'll tell you what their motto is. You can open your eyes now. And the Ascended Master's motto, which I've updated just a hair, is what I did, you can do too. And it's really, really true. That's exactly how they feel. So, Nadira, back over to you for a moment.
Thank you very much, Deborah. We want to make sure that we have the rest of our time together to dive into questions for Deborah as we prepare for her upcoming course, Sacred Tools for Modern Masters, which begins next Tuesday, June 11th. If at any time during this call you want to learn more about this 5-week course, please visit sacredtoolsformodernmasters.com to see the full description. If you have questions for our customer support team, you can contact them directly at support.theshiftnetwork.com. And if you have questions for Deborah, just go on and start typing them into the chat. And now I will hand it back to Deborah and we can get started with the questions. Deborah, back to you.
Hey, great, Nadira. What fun, huh? So I see a lot of people have put questions in. That's just super. One of the ones I'm seeing the most often is, hey, if I studied sutras with you before, should I come take this class? The answer is absolutely. Let me tell you why. Last time was a long time ago and wasn't live and was a not as updated a version. I've really updated it. So I would love for you to come get your sutras reseated. So here's what happens. Just like when you meditate, you know how you kind of fall off the wagon, fall off the program a little bit. All my life, I've gone somewhere to reinvigorate my spiritual practices, and I urge you to do that. And this course at the Shift Network is the optimum time and place to do that. My students have been really hammering on me for quite a few years now to teach the sutras live, and so here we are. Here's your chance, and lots of opportunity there to get them reseated deeply into your energy field. So that's the first question I see right here at the top. And then the next one is from my namesake, from a woman named Deborah. She says, I'm a nurse, and because of my schedule, I work every other Tuesday. I'm only going to be able to attend half the sessions live. She said, the rest I'll be watching later or listening to. And is your seating going to work if I'm, doing it later? And I want you to tell you, Deborah, absolutely. So the work I do does transcend time and space, and I don't see any problem at all with you attending one live and then catching a replay on the next one. I think that's an excellent idea to work around your work schedule. The next, and I can't wait to see you there, okay? And now Richard says, well, there's a whole bunch of sutras. There's almost 200 of them. How did you pick 20? Really good question, Richard. I didn't pick them. I was taught in India and Nepal a million years ago, Jayan. And those seers selected them. They work as a unit, as a package. They can't be like split up. Or, why don't I go get some others kind of a thing. I'm not the wisdom seer here. The seer who taught me is. And I feel very honored to be able to teach this work. But I teach it in just the manner that I was taught. And again, these particular 20 sutras are a package that delivers a real punch. All right, a real punch. It kind of hard to break down, but it affects you physically, emotionally, spiritually. And after it clears out all the debris that you've been dragging around this lifetime and maybe others, it starts to ramp up your other abilities that you have sitting up above your head in your 8th chakra. Maybe you're meant to be a world-class speaker, or maybe you're meant to come up with a whole new solution for animal rights or the ocean, or whatever one of our issues is, right? We have plenty of issues, don't we? And it's really interesting how you just do the program, you do the sutras just as I give them to you, and the next thing you know, a couple of weeks might go by, and you suddenly have this amazing idea that never crossed your mind before, and that you think, wow, where did I get that idea? And now all of a sudden, I believe I can actually execute that idea. And so that's what the sutras do. They bring you your powers and abilities that you came into this lifetime to use in this body, but that you're not able to access yet because they're stuck in chakras above your head. And all of a sudden, the sutras just blast that open, just really blast it open. And my own experience, I remember I was so shy and had such a fear of public speaking. And 6 months after I started doing the sutras, I suddenly started doing live workshops out of the blue and started writing a book out of the blue. I was like, wow, who knew? I had no idea that's who I was supposed to be. I was really blown away. So you too, Richard, this could be happening to you. So, would love to work with you on it. Caitlin says, how do we know what our divine gifts are? Oh, good question, Caitlin. That's just what I was talking about, huh? Divine gifts. And when do we do and how do we go about it as a business instead of wanting to do things, but, just not not able to get going? So, Caitlin, I wish I knew what city you were in because I could read it more accurately, but it feels like you have some gifts that are already partially developed. I think you know which ones they are. And I don't think you're going to be surprised when doing the sutras just kind of put you in the driver's seat on them. I think the only block you have right now that I'm seeing is that you're still fairly young, and I don't think you're meant to stride into it immediately, but that there's going to be a learning curve for you. Okay. Anonymous says, I have had a lot of trauma resurfacing due to life circumstances, like an abusive parent who's now terminally ill. Would this course be too much or too heavy for that current situation? Oh, no, it certainly would not be too heavy, Anon. I would actually recommend it to you because, boy, if there's anything worse than an abusive parent, it's one that's dying, because then you're going to deal with all the guilt, right? And I think you're going to find that the course will give you some new wisdom that you don't have yet, and you will just sort of sail through this experience without revisiting. I'm not sensing that you're going to be revisiting trauma. So I would urge you to, come study the sutras with me. Susan wants to know, how do I get my pineal gland to activate? You know what, Susan, I work on that as I recall, pretty sure it's week 3 of the course. So the pineal gland is a really important one that helps. Well, to go a little deeper, there's a channel between the pituitary and the pineal. And what I do is I activate that channel, and I do it on the sutra class. It has big spiritual impact, of course, but interestingly enough, of course, it also has physical impact because we use our pineal gland. It's a functioning gland. So that would be very cool. Here's a question from Jackie. She says, if time is not linear in the spirit world and past lives are more accurately defined as other lifetimes, then how do we believe that we are, or how can we believe that we are progressing forward in our spiritual evolution if some of our lives are malevolent? Well, that is a very complicated question. Let me think about that for a minute, Jackie. So I agree with you. Time is not linear in the spirit world. I know that because I go there fairly often. And I do have had experience of simultaneous parallel lives with clients. So I'm with you there. But I think that malevolent is maybe a little strong word. I would say that I would break that down a little bit and acknowledge that each of us is capable of having some darkness in our life, for sure. Some darker than others, no doubt. But every life has moments of redemption. Every single life, every single life. So you are progressing, and our world is progressing despite how it appears. So I hope I answered your question, Jackie. Now, Anna says, how are the sutras seated, and what does that mean? So, Anna, I wish I could tell you how I do it. I've been taught to do it, and I can feel it when I'm doing it right. I'm not sure I can translate it into like a step-by-step thing, but basically, I build a vessel, a template, and I put everybody on the course in it. And when I go to drop the sutra into each of you, and I do them individually, I drop them right into your personal energy field. And all you have to do to keep them is do them. Again, they're very simple. They are a word or two or a short phrase. 2 weeks of doing it and you'll have them all memorized. Super simple, okay? And it doesn't matter if you get them mixed up. It doesn't matter if you get lost and never come back and fall asleep. That's all a valid sutra practice. All you have to have is the intentionality. And I'll teach at great length on all of that and how to do it. But you'll be amazed at how user-friendly it is and how easy. I can't wait to start teaching it, actually. I'm starting to get excited. Mauricia is asking, she says, I learned the sutras with you before, and I've done a lot of clearing as a result of them, but I feel there's more I can do. What ideas can you give me about what could be blocking me, and how can I move beyond this? So, Marika, we heal as people, as individuals, just like you peel an onion. So an onion, you don't cut it in half, you peel it layer by layer by layer. And we heal our trauma the same way. First, we get in touch with the first one that's coming to our mind. Maybe it's the death of a loved one that you're trying to, resolve. You just can't wrap your head around it. And you're not over it. And so you work on that. And the sutras just kind of ease you through that. And the next thing you know, you're focused on a whole new thing that was before that in time. Or perhaps later, because we store our traumas in different ways and not necessarily in the order in which they occur. But what I notice working with people and working with the sutras is it's the most effective way to clear out trauma. And in my own case, I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was just wow, it was so fast. It was just a matter of maybe a year and a half perhaps, and I was really in very good shape after a horribly traumatic first 25 years, really, really bad trauma, and, culminating in cancer in my early 20s. So I had plenty of trauma to hit the delete button on. And once I got the sutra program, I launched ahead. I flew ahead instead of inching ahead. So it's fast. It's very fast. Emma says, once I've gotten the sutra seated and it's become part of my daily routine. And by the way, gang, it only takes 5 minutes. I want you to know that. It's not a huge commitment. Is there any other training required, or will the sutras continue to accelerate healing and spiritual growth as long as I continue to do them every day? Hey, awesome question, Emma. Thank you so much for asking it. Indeed, no other training required. Definitely no requirement that you understand what they mean. My students are always asking me, what do they mean? What do they mean? And the answer is, well, you know what? I haven't been told in many cases. Now, in this particular course, I'm going to be able to reveal the meaning of some of them. I've finally been given that meaning and told I could communicate it. But it's completely unnecessary. You just sit there. They're in English, by the way. They're not in a foreign language. Interesting, huh? And you put them on top of a little short meditation I give you that is the first thing you get when you walk in the door and take this class. It's the first thing we send you is my meditation course, and you get a mantra there. I give you an individualized mantra. So then you come here and you get these sutras, and they're in English, and you learn them so easily that by the time we're done with the 5 sessions, you'll already know them all. You'll totally know them. You just keep doing them, frankly, for the rest of your life. Once a day is optimum, but you miss a day here and there, no big deal. Falling asleep, no big deal. Running out of time, no big deal. None of these things are a problem, okay? So it's a really forgiving, easygoing kind of an experience. It's very user-friendly. Okay, Lauren writes and says, hello, Deborah. I recently studied the sutras with you, and I want to talk to you about the energy of my children. I have one child who's extremely energetic, creative, curious, and diagnosed with ADHD. I have another child who has some serious negativity that something must have happened to her in a past life. She has some fears that cannot otherwise be identified. I try hard to stay calm, take care of myself, and be a good mother, but I find my energy is low, and I'm starting to have a hard time with the kids. Let's back up. You have 2 children, right? Uh-huh. What can you recommend to do to help myself so I can better help my children? Well, first off, Lauren, it sounds like you are doing an amazing job as a mother. And I'm so glad that you're doing the sutras. Congrats on that. That will give you the energy you need to help you with your children. Um, your child that picking up through you that you say has serious negativity just feels like she came in. She's a very special child and came in with some special gifts that you're going to help her develop. So not to worry, this is all going to come together. Just a matter of time. It's going to be actually pretty easy. Carol writes and says, I made a mistake. Wait a minute, I lost Carol's question. Here it is. I made a mistake and I'm worried I'm going to lose my good karma. How do I let it go? Hey, Carol, we all make mistakes, right? Like every single one of us, right? All the time, huh? So let me just help you. Let's just take that mistake right now, and all of us help Carol. Just let it go, Carol. Just picture it leaving your body, leaving your energy field, heading up toward the roof or the sky, wherever you may be, and let it go. That mistake doesn't define you. It doesn't help you be a better person. You've already learned what you needed to know from it. You won't forget that you made it, but you don't want to blame yourself. You want to say, you know what? I did the best I could right then, and I'm going to even do better now that I have that extra information. So you haven't lost your good karma, not at all. Okay, let's take another question here. We have Elaine that wants to know what her biggest block for financial abundance is. You know what, Elaine, I wish I could answer that. I wonder if you could write back in and tell us where you are, what city and state and country. I'm not getting a clear enough picture to give you a good answer. Okay. Karen says she's fascinated about ability sitting in her 8th chakra and wants to hear more about that. Hey, Karen, I do a full deal on the 8th chakra in this chakra course. In this sutra course. So I hope you come to it. I go into great lengths helping you open your 8th chakra. Pamela says, I'm trying so hard to find out what my life purpose is and be able to communicate with my higher self. What am I doing wrong? And during meditation, I see nothing. Well, I don't know how you're meditating, Pamela, but you're not supposed to see anything while you're meditating. So that's actually a really good thing that you said there. Meditation is a space of nothingness. We don't see things there. We don't have intentionality there. We don't meditate for anything. We just simply meditate, right? I think if you do sutras, you will find your life purpose a lot more quickly, though. I think that would be very helpful to you. Marie says, how can I use the sutras to assist with healing others? And my answer, Marie, is that's how I started my path on healing others, was shortly after I started doing the sutras. I started realizing that I was meant to do it. I was really surprised because I thought, well, I don't seem to have any ability in this field. But I studied it a lot and practiced it a lot, and that is what I do. I work with others. I heal others. So I believe the sutras opened the door for that for me, and connected me to the guidance I needed. Jennifer D says, how can I get in direct contact with my guides and the ascended masters? She has 2 questions. That's her first one. So Jennifer, same way we did it earlier, just a few minutes ago, you close your eyes, you just intend in your heart to connect with whatever guide you've chosen for that moment or that day to help you with that issue. I named a lot of names of ascended masters that you could use, or maybe you have guides, angels, or other guides that you prefer. But just intend. You should start in the morning when you first wake up and picture someone to connect with, get some guidance from your guardian angel, from your divine guides, from your ancestors. Be sure you get guidance and then do it again throughout the day and before you go to sleep. You're never alone. You are never alone. You are surrounded by guidance. And then Jennifer's other question was, how do I heal my body? Well, that's a big question, isn't it, Jennifer? And to return to perfect health. First off, I'd mention that the work I do establishes you in my mind's eye already in perfect health. So I start with that as my starting point. And the deal is for me to help you gently using your higher guidance, not mine, your higher guidance, help you return to that state of perfect health that I see you in. So I actually picture you in perfect health. I see you as perfectly healthy, Jennifer. And I want you to know that perfect health. Fonz wants to know what gift to best put in practice in this phase of my life. And Fonz, I can't answer. I'm not quite able to pick up your energy field. I wish you'd drop me a note here through the chat window and tell me where you are. Sometimes I need to know where someone is. Sometimes I can pick them up without that information. Susan says, I'm trying to move forward, but I feel uncertain about going forward into a new business venture. How can I make that shift? Well, Susan, again, you need higher guidance, right? From your higher self as well as from other guides. And I would urge you to spend a little bit of time every morning connecting. So again, what I teach is a 20-minute meditation practice followed by 5 minutes of sutras. I give both in this class. You get the meditation when you sign up, and then we start doing the sutras the first week. I'm positive that by the end of the 5 weeks, you will know how you really feel and what your own higher guidance is about the new business venture. So your higher self up in your 8th, 9th, 10th, and on chakras knows best for you, way better than anyone else. And you get guides to help you access that guidance. It's kind of how it works. And so I want to urge Susan to do the sutras. Absolutely. And I'm glad to see Fonz came back and said, Amsterdam. Hey, welcome, Fonz, Amsterdam in the Netherlands. And now I can see you really clearly. You have quite a big heart, Fonz. So it feels like that's going to be you're going to be heart-centered and have a heart-centered gift. The means of manifestation. Let's see if I can pick it up. Feels like some sort of activity. Are you already guiding people? Because I see you actively guiding people. So you've either already started or you're going to start soon. And think broadly, because it could start with guidance with family members and then maybe with friends. It doesn't have to be formal. You might already be guiding and not know that. Okay, Sharon from Sewanee, Georgia says she's in remission. Congrats, Sharon. She's in remission from stage 4 lymphoma. Do you think this course would facilitate continued healing? Oh, do I, Sharon? Listen, I went all the way to India to get this class, okay, because I was in remission from cancer, but I wanted to stay in remission. And I was only 25. And I was pretty motivated enough to, do a lot of third world stuff to get it. And so I would really recommend it if you have any health issue. This is absolutely the thing to do. Sue in Virginia Beach. Hey, Sue, I'm so sorry about the tragedy in Virginia Beach. That was just heartbreaking. Just heartbreaking. All of our thoughts and prayers are with all of you. That's such a shock. She says, I feel very stuck, unable to figure out what my life purpose is. Again, Sue, come take the sutra class, okay, and get unstuck. Let the sutras blast you open. You won't be stuck once you start doing them. They are really powerful, you guys. They're really powerful. Camilla says, I've already signed up. I'm really looking forward to the course, but I received your mantra today, but I already have one. Does it matter which one I use? Oh, it does. I want you to stick with the one you have from before, Camilla. And somewhere along the way, I tell you that, but maybe it's in the companion piece that's called Everything I Wanted to Know About Meditation but Was Afraid to Ask. So this is a great chance for me to tell everybody, when you sign up for the Sutra course, I will send you as a bonus my absolutely locked in, no-brainer, cannot fail meditation class. So easy to learn. You can learn it in an hour, and it comes with a personalized mantra. But I want to be sure, if you already have one that was given to you personally by a teacher, stick with it, because it's already seated, so to speak, okay, in your body mind, and you don't want to flip to another one. So I'm so glad, Camilla, that you dropped by and said that. That is so helpful. Okay, Elaine is back, and she had the question about financial abundance, and she's in Moultrie, Georgia. Oh boy, you have a lot of talent, Elaine. Is it acting or is it music? It's very creative. You have some kind of big talent that, but you do have a financial block. I can see that, and let's see what to do about that. Well, you've got a major lack of self-worth issue going on there that you need to tackle first. And so I would say, do the course, do the sutras, and then every night spend 10 minutes looking in a mirror, do mirror work, 5 or 10 minutes max, look in a mirror and come up with 5 or 6 statements about yourself and how valuable you are. I am valuable. I am very valuable. I am very financially capable, etc. Okay, write down 6 things, because you've got a message you're hearing, a tape that's playing that says, you can't, you aren't. Feels like it came from family. We're never successful. It'll never happen. That sort of thing. And I want to help you flip that tape out, burn it, okay, and send it up to the stratosphere and create this new tape that you hear every night. You look right in the mirror and you talk to that Elaine, and you tell her how incredibly successful she is financially, and she has no blocks. But you wouldn't say that, because that's in the negative. You would just keep saying, I am incredibly successful financially. I make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I make, not I will make, I make. I have all my bills are paid. People look to me for financial counseling. I mean, the sky's the limit, okay, on what you can tell yourself here. Debbie writes and says, I'm on my path. I purchased property. My address is 0. That's very cute, Debbie. I have a lake, a waterfall, and a river, and 53-acre peninsula. Wow. This is fabulous, Debbie. She says, I talk to Source. I talk to Mother Gaia and all my guardian angels. I go drumming at the falls, but I wish I could channel. Isn't that interesting? Well, Debbie, do the sutras. Open your channel up to Source. And let's call it guidance. I think it'll be pretty amazing. You'll just feel so guided, okay? And it'll just roll out of you, and people will come to listen. Okay, let's take a little break here for just a minute and see what Nadira has to say.
Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who is joining us. We're going to return to the last few questions shortly. Before we take those, though, I just want to mention Sacred Tools for Modern Masters once more. This is going to be an extraordinary 5-week journey under Deborah's guidance. The 5-week course will take place on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, starting on Tuesday, June 11th. And if for any reason you cannot join us live, you won't miss the teachings. You will receive replays, transcripts, and all course handouts via your course homepage. Also, I'd like to remind you that we offer a no-risk, money-back guarantee on our courses, giving a full 2 weeks until June 25th in this case, to make sure you absolutely love it. As an added option, all participants are welcome to connect via a private Facebook community group so you can stay connected with one another. And everyone who registers for the course will receive the Sacred Tools for Modern Masters bonus collection. It's a series of audio and video teachings from Deborah, including Life Force Energy Healing Meditation, What Are Your Spiritual Ethics?, Everything you wanted to know about meditation but were afraid to ask, which Deborah just mentioned a moment ago, and Finding Self-Forgiveness. And Deborah, can you share a little bit about what you are most looking forward to teaching in the upcoming course?
Well, it's so hard to pick, Nadira, because I think my most favorite topic is the Order of Melchizedek. I get really excited about it. I didn't even know what it was. I've never heard of it hardly. I mean, it was just, a word, an expression. I didn't know what it was until not that many years ago, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, when I was open to being part of it and was given all the information about it. So I love telling people about it because that way I'm seeding in their body mind the possibility that that's where they're going to be. They're going to be this order of priests and healers and change makers, a 20th century, 21st century Order of Melchizedek, so to speak. And so I really get pretty jazzed up about it. And I think it's maybe one of the favorite parts of this class.
Thank you very much. So again, to everyone who is watching, we're going to transition back to the last few questions, but if you want to learn more about the course, you can go to sacredtoolsformodernmasters.com, and I will hand it back to you, Deborah.
Hey, super. So great questions that have come in. Stephanie says, Deborah, I've been working with your sutras for about a year now. My abilities and gifts have been blown wide open, and I've undergone lots of healing, but I still don't know which path to take. Oh, Stephanie, I'm so excited for you. Though, look what you've already accomplished. She said, I've been writing spiritual books of fiction, but also have received tons of ideas for putting together a healing, intuitive kind of business. And then I get messages saying I'm going to be a teacher. So I'm confused. What does it all mean? Here's what it means, Stephanie. First of all, you're getting daily guidance because you're doing the sutra practice. And it is not actually competing for you to be getting guidance to write a book, as well as put together a business where you reach out and help people individually, as well as teach. I do all three, and I did all three back a long time ago when I was just getting started like you. And it just seems so overwhelming at first, doesn't it? I mean, it's like, how can I do all those things? Good grief. And yet you'd be amazed. So, I'm 4 books later and thousands of students later, and you can do it. I promise you can. So you're already very open. Your sutra practice looks very, very deeply ingrained. I see you've already had an initiation, so good for you. And just keep up the good work. Just, keep it up. Good for you. Brenda from Ontario, Oregon says, how do I know if my infection is cleared, or am I going to need more antibiotics? She said she had a lesion removed from the top of her ear that was benign, but then it got infected. Drat, huh? So Brenda, I'm going to suggest that you go back in for follow-up. I'm not getting clarity on this, and I think that blood test will be very clear. So don't guess, okay? And tell your doctor, let's not guess. Don't just hand me another, bottle of pills. Let's do a blood test and see how I'm doing. Great to hear from you, Brenda, and really wishing you well, like right now, okay? So I want that test to be negative. Okay, Anne says, do you feel people can have multiple gifts in one lifetime, or is there one that is most strong? My own experience with not just myself, but as I mentioned, thousands of students have been that you'll have one gift open, you'll work on it for a while, maybe 5 or 10 years, and then another one will. So like, oh my God, I knew I was supposed to be helping people individually, but I had no idea I was supposed to be teaching groups in corporations, or whatever your particular gift is, okay? And it's, the sky's the limit on what these gifts can be. Or I had no idea I was meant to work with animals, I have people tell me that, I had no clue before. So don't feel like you're limited to one gift. You aren't. You have multiple gifts up there in your 8th chakra, honestly. Val's question here is, I've been meditating for a couple of years and have a Qigong practice, and I see improvements in my life. Would this course be compatible with those practices? Oh no, not adverse at all, Val. Great compatibility here with your meditation and your Qigong. This would be a real nice adjunct practice to add on, and the 3 would work together just gorgeously, really. Anon from Mississauga, Canada says, what can I do to unblock my heart? Anon, here's the easiest thing to do is to pick up a pet. So if you don't have a pet of your own, you don't have the space in your home or the time, go down to the shelter. All you have to do to unblock your heart, it's really pretty simple, guys, is love an animal, because they unconditionally love you back. So you feel safe, right? So your heart opens. So your heart chakra can close at any moment, but it can open at any moment. You don't have to worry that it's going to stay closed because you had some, devastating breakup, or, somebody died, or, some thing you just can't grieve. So you close. We close is what happens because it's too painful. But you don't want to stay that way, because then you can't feel the joy. So get a pet, just anything in your home, or go to the shelter and devote an hour or 2 a week to helping those homeless, darling little creatures, and you will find your heart will stay open. It'll open and stay open. Hey, I think I have time for just one more question. Claudia in Guatemala wants to know, she says, thank you so much for providing yet another avenue for those of us on the spiritual path. I love that you sense the energy of the participants. Thank you, Claudia. What can I do to truly accept that I have gifts? Well, Claudia, you know you do. You absolutely know you do. I mean, look how big-hearted you are. So you have some pretty special gifts. I would love for you to do more with them. You're very, very gifted. And then Anne wants to know if this is compatible with other spiritual stuff she studied. And as I mentioned earlier, absolutely. This course, these sutras know no bounds when connected to a religion, a belief system, a philosophy. They're not in any way, not compatible. They're compatible with everything. All right, and I'll throw the show back over here to Nadira.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone for participating, and thank you so much, Deborah, for your time and your wisdom that you shared with all of us on the call today. Sacred Tools for Modern Masters starts next week, Tuesday, June 11th. And again, please visit sacredtoolsformodernmasters.com to learn more or to register. Deborah, do you have any final words that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Just to say, Nadira, that I'm honored to be teaching this class. I'm really honored that Spirit and the seers, found me worthy. I'm very humbled by the whole thing, and there's nothing like teaching it live. There's just nothing quite like it, because we form such a such a vessel, all of us together. It's really powerful. So can't wait to start. I hope to see everybody next Tuesday.
Thank you. And thank you again to everyone who joined us today. And on behalf of all of us at the Shift Network, I wish you well and look forward to having you on this course or another one in the future. Bye-bye.